What's going on, y'all? Harry from Harry the Horse Barbecue here, and in this one, I am not horsing around with this smoked beef Wellington. We're gonna cold smoke off a beef tenderloin until it builds some amazing smoke flavor, sear it off, top it with a beautiful homemade lattice pattern, and then we will slice on into the most eye-catching, crispy, smoky Wellington that is perfect for your holiday table. Looking to finally conquer that Wellington this year? Well, the horse has got your back. Let's get it.
Harry the Horse Barbecue.
Now, with the holidays literally right around the corner, there's nothing fancier to adorn your holiday table with than the beef Wellington. It's the dish that Gordon Ramsay has made famous, but one thing Gordon Ramsay was lacking was a bit of smoke in his beef Wellington. So with the element of smoke, we're gonna hit crispy, buttery, salty, umami, smoky. That is a stocking stuffed with a ton of holiday flavor. So in order to make this beef Wellington, we're gonna go shopping for some beef. Let's go. That'd be a beef tenderloin. Now I picked this up from the butcher, vac sealed it up and froze it until I was ready to make this Wellington. Thawed it out a couple days ago. What y'all looking at is the center cut of a beef Wellington, also known as the chateaubriand. Why is this so sought after? Well, let's stop horsing around and get it out of the pack to find out. Ooh. We are looking at close to the center cut portion of the beef tenderloin, and that's why the chateaubriand is so sought after. Essentially, it's the thickest part, it's the most even part of the tenderloin, but it looks like my butcher tried to pull a fast one and left me a little extra muscles, maybe from the chain or something along those lines, to make it appear like it is one thick section, but this muscle looks like it's clearly tapering down. But regardless of how this was presented and sold to me, we're still gonna end up with a pretty solid Wellington. So I'm gonna give this a flip over. And all we're doing the night before is giving this a classic dry brine, using Diamond Crystal kosher salt. And we're gonna go down with a pretty substantial coating of kosher salt on this tenderloin. We all know the tenderloin is a very underwhelming cut of meat in terms of maybe some flavor, some fat content, pretty lean, but it's all about the tenderness with this cut. But if we can introduce a bit of flavor all the way through this cut of meat, then we are definitely starting with a great base for this Wellington. You can get away with seasoning this really quick, searing it off in a pan, doing it pretty classic, traditional Wellington style, but we spent a good amount of money on this little piece of meat, so we might as well make it as flavorful as we can. And it's the holidays. The more attention to detail, the better our end product is gonna be. And when it comes to the horse stables, y'all, you know we don't horse around over here. So with this tenderloin salted up, we're gonna throw it into the refrigerator overnight to help dry out the surface of this meat, allow that salt to penetrate all the way through. And this overnight dry brine is gonna give us the maximum amount of time to develop flavor inside the meat. See y'all in the AM. All right, y'all, we made our way out to the pit, and again, we have beautiful snowy conditions, and these conditions are actually perfect because we are going to cold smoke off that tenderloin. And I mean an actual true cold smoke. We are looking for no heat whatsoever, and we're not trying to cook this tenderloin at all. So let's set up this cooker for cold smoky conditions. All right, y'all, for this cold smoke, I'm using just a little bit of leftover coals from the last cook. Feel free to use a small amount of charcoal if you feel like it. 2 snake nests to get the party started, 1 big log, and 2 smaller logs. All right, we got some cold smoke rolling, and I just pulled this beef tenderloin out of the freezer. Taking a page out of my buddy Brad over at Chud's Barbecue's books, I placed this tenderloin in the freezer for about 40 minutes or so to help firm it up, and it's probably in the order of like 28 degrees out here, so I'm not super worried about cooking this tenderloin during this cold smoke, but let's get it on. Up and under. Okay, looking smoky. Now I could place this tenderloin right on the cooker, but to help ensure food safety, I just filled up this pan with snow. There's plenty of it around, and it'll help keep this tenderloin below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're gonna throw the tenderloin right on top. And just like that, we're ready for this cold smoke. Now at this rate, all we gotta do is close her down. Boom, shakalaka. And we're gonna let this tenderloin cold smoke for about an hour or so. We're basically just looking for the tenderloin to absorb some amazing smoke flavor during this process, but we don't wanna over smoke the tenderloin. So an hour of cold smoke should be just enough for that tenderloin to absorb just enough smoke flavor, so that way it's not tasting like an ashtray at the end of this, but I'm cold smoking myself out here. I'll let this rock, and I'll meet y'all back when we pull it off. See you in about an hour. After about an hour on the smoker, our tenderloin has picked up just enough smoke flavor, so I vac sealed it up. It's gonna hit the fridge. In the meantime, let's start making our mushroom duxelle. But in order to make this duxelle, we gotta do some chopping. But in order to do some serious chopping without a food processor, I'm gonna enlist this 14-inch Annihilator meat cleaver from Dalstrong. Gotta release the beast from its cage. That's not a knife, that's a knife. Whip this out at your next holiday party and you're gonna impress everyone with this bad mamma jamma. Now with this video releasing so close to Christmas, it may be a little too late for this Annihilator to arrive at your door by Christmas time, but you could surely give this as a gift at any time of the year and everyone's gonna be impressed. Plus it comes with this amazing stand. Yeah. So if you're really trying to impress a cook in your life or a backyard barbecue enthusiast in your life, annihilate their expectations with this beast of a knife. Now y'all know I've been using Dalstrong knives for a while now on the channel, so you definitely know these knives are not horsing around. Shout out to Dalstrong for being a longtime partner of the channel. Check the link in the description down below if you want to pick up one of these Annihilators. Speaking of, let's annihilate those mushrooms. So back in with our mushrooms that I rinsed off, and I took all the stems out as well, just because I want the meaty caps of these baby bellas to really shine in our duxelle. Now we're just gonna chop these up as fine as we possibly can. The finer the chop, the quicker these mushrooms are gonna cook. And if you're lacking a food processor, this surely does the job. Mushrooms annihilated. Hot pan lined with beef tallow, going in with our shallots that I previously chopped. I should mention this is one whole shallot, and after a few minutes they're cooked down, looking a little bit translucent, so we're going in with about 5 cloves of garlic. And we just want to keep on mixing this around so the garlic doesn't burn. Shallots and garlic are looking good, so I'm going in with all of our baby bellas, and we're gonna let these cook down for a really long time. We're looking for them to lose all of their water weight, get a bit pasty, shrink up. I'll meet y'all back when our duxelle has come together. And after about 15 or 20 minutes, we're looking pretty pasty. So now I'm gonna go in with about a half a shot of bourbon. And lastly, a bunch of chopped up thyme just to bring it all together. We'll cook off that alcohol, get that thyme introduced, and then we'll move over to searing off our tenderloin. Once again, a hot pan lined with beef tallow, tenderloin in. Gonna sear this baby off on all sides, then chill her down. And after a few minutes of searing in the pan, we got a pretty nice crust on this tenderloin. And while it's still pretty hot, I'm gonna brush on some Dijon mustard. I thinned it out with just a little bit of water. Underside too. I try to sear this off super quick in a ripping hot pan that I lined with beef tallow, just to build a decent crust and not overcook this because it is a tiny little tenderloin after all. Lastly, going over the top with some fresh cracked black pepper, just to give this a wee bit more flavor as we move into our first installment of rolling this Wellington up. First down with our duxelle, nice and cool now, and I'm wondering if I made enough. Oh, it smells so good though. In comes our tenderloin next, right down, and it looks like I don't need these extra 4 pieces of prosciutto, so I'm gonna actually take them out. Okay, that's looking a little bit more appropriate, and we can squeeze this tenderloin together just a bit. Now I don't feel so bad about how much duxelle I actually made. If I were to do this again, I would make 4 packages of those baby bella mushrooms, but nonetheless, this looks pretty decent, so I'm going to start the rolling process, and we'll roll nice and tight. Give it one more good solid roll. Okay. Definitely want to compress it and make it that log shape. And not gonna lie, that is pretty darn fantastic. You could still feel the squishy beef, so it's not overcooked. Nice coverage with the prosciutto. We didn't lose our duxelle, but all in all, for my first classic Wellington, I think we're off to the races. So this double meat mushroom log is gonna hit the fridge overnight to help firm up. It's gonna also help everything cool down, and then we'll wrap it in our puff pastry tomorrow. And I've got a little bit of a trick for y'all that's gonna help you not overcook your tenderloin when we throw the entire Wellington into the oven. See y'all back in the AM or at some point tomorrow. Well, it's been about a day and we're on to the next wrap phase of this beef Wellington, which includes rolling it up or wrapping it up in puff pastry. I really hope I didn't break that. But I'm using a brand of puff pastry called Dufour. I'm never really gonna make my own puff pastry when this stuff exists. Let's turn this beef into a Wellington. Little AP flour down on the board just to prevent any stickage. So we'll just unfold our puff pastry and it just immediately broke. That's cool. And we gotta roll it out so that way we can rejoin these 2 sections back together. Shouldn't be a problem. All right, our puff pastry is rolled out where it's wide enough where it should fit our beef Wellington just fine. So I'm gonna move this over to some plastic wrap, BRB. In comes our beefy boy, something about like that. My bad, my bad, my bad. Before we do that, just gonna come through and egg wash this up. Just so when we roll it, it's pretty easy to stick. Back down with our beef, but upside down. Little pastry flip, a little bit of a tuck, and rolling it up. Very nice, very nice. A little pinch down, a little pinch down. Enlisting the help of another dowel strong knife, just to go right down that edge and take off the excess there. Take off the excess there. Just pinching and crimping to keep it all together and kind of making it look a little bit pretty on the ends. Plastic wrap will be your friend in this case. So I just transfer this beef Wellington onto the sheet tray that is lined with really poorly ripped parchment paper, but it's only temporary because we're gonna take this beef Wellington to the next level and make a lattice pattern to top the entire Wellington. So at that rate, this will head to the refrigerator. I'm gonna roll out another sheet of puff pastry and I'll bring you all back when I mark out the lattice pattern. See you in like 15. All right, well, that actually only took like 2 or 3 minutes because this puff pastry actually thawed out appropriately. If you saw my petite beef rib Wellington video from last year's holiday, I went through and made the lattice pattern by hand using a ruler and a knife. But this year, I've actually got a lattice cutter because last year for Christmas, Perry got me this as a gift and I've been waiting to use it for this moment. So shout out to Perry, she's over there. Here we go. Now cut this pastry and try to save this excess in case I need a backup. So I'm gonna go through and just kind of open up a lot of these marks. But once I'm done, we'll drop this lattice pattern right over that Wellington. So in this egg wash, I've got 1 egg, a little splash of water, and then another egg yolk, just in hopes of building up some amazing color on this Wellington once it hits the oven. Another reason we want to egg wash is because we need that lattice pattern to stick. Delicate hands, we're gonna come over the top with this lattice pattern, still work it once it's on there. 15 minutes of fussing around, trying to get it to look just the way I want it. I think this Wellington has come out better than I could have hoped for, which is really insane. So what I'm gonna do is take a page out of Chris Young's book. We're gonna do a 2-stage cook from frozen technique. If we cook this from frozen, it'll allow the puff pastry to cook at a rate that works for the puff pastry so we don't burn it, and it's gonna give the tenderloin more time to cook. That way we can bring that internal temperature up from about a rare up to a medium rare. Either way, we'll be able to monitor temps while this thing's cooking in the oven. But for now, it's gonna go into the freezer. I've had this beef Wellington in the freezer for the last like 3 or 4 days or so. And that's the beauty of the beef Wellington. You could totally freeze this ahead of time and then whip it out when you're ready to serve your guests, throw it in the oven, and you're good to go. So at this rate, I've had this out of the freezer for about 45 minutes just to help it defrost a little bit. Now we just gotta paint it up with an egg wash and throw it into a preheated 375-degree oven. And here I just have an egg and 1 egg yolk, plus a little splash of water. This is just gonna help the browning process, help that lattice build a little bit of a browning on the outside. So that looks good enough to me. And the last little bit, the piece de resistance, a little bit of flake salt right over the top to keep it fancy. Not gonna lie, y'all, this looks incredible. But I've seen a lot of beef Wellington recipes out there on the interwebs, on the YouTubes, and I will say very few of them have as beautiful of a presentation as this. So make sure you all hit that like and subscribe button for this. Good Lord. So here's the game plan at this point. This Wellington is gonna hit a 380-ish degree oven pretty much until the entire puff pastry is golden brown and looking amazing. At that point, we'll temp the internal of that tenderloin. If it's hitting where we want it, we can pull this out immediately. If it's lagging a little bit behind because it's frozen, we're gonna drop this oven temperature down to 150 degrees and let that tenderloin catch up over time. That is the 2-stage cook from frozen method, but off to the oven she goes, fingers crossed. And if this is not the most beautiful beef Wellington you've seen on the internet, I don't know where you're looking. This is ridiculously good looking. Beautiful golden brown crust on there. I'd say this took over an hour to cook in the oven, and the internal of that tenderloin was reading about 125. So I only had to actually cook this on about 400 degrees in the oven until the puff pastry browned. Woo, that is hot. Maybe we're not ready to slice into this yet, but let's let it rest on the cutting board for a little while longer, and then we will slice on in. Oh, that smells so good. All right, I gave this like another like 10 minutes and I can't wait any longer. I have to slice into this. Here we go. This is just a little demi-glace that I actually picked up from the butcher. I am incredibly nervous. I've never made one of these before with a standard tenderloin, but here we go. And the grand salami. Okay, not bad, not bad, okay. The cook from Frozen technique really saved us from this tiny tenderloin, that's for sure. Rocking a solid medium in there. I can't be mad at it. All right, and after about 1,000,001 photos for the thumbnail, because this thing is so gosh darn beautiful, I think we're ready to slice in. Actually, wait, one more thing. No blue lights, I crushed them all, my bad. I've got Kona Big Wave on hand though. It'll surely pair well with this beautiful Wellington. Gotta warm up the palate there. A little bummed that we're in that medium territory, but we knew that Wellington was tiny. But let's take a little tasty taste of this. I mean, that little cross section ain't too bad. Some medium beef, that duxelle looks beautiful. Puff pastry golden, cooked all the way through. Oh my God, my mouth is watering, I can't even speak. Dude, what the f? Oh my God, that is an incredible bite of food. You actually are picking up the smoke a little bit too. Oh my God, it's salty, savory. You get this nice tender beef on the inside, this umami, flavorful duxelle, a ton of saltiness from that prosciutto, and that puff pastry just literally holds it all together, ties it all together. Like, why is no one making this outside of Christmas? I'll never know. Stealing my beer. Ozzy and Perry, are we ready for some beef Wellington? This is gonna be a little sloppy. One biter? Oh, you didn't one bite it?
It's really good.
Oh, Desi.
It's amazing.
Desi's wanting it. There's like so many flavors going on.
There are a lot of flavors going on.
All right, a little of the demi-glace right on top. With the demi-glace, she's already gone in. I need more sauce next time, but that's so freaking good. I'll plate it up and we can have some dinner. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. But just check a look again. Oh my goodness, that is not too shabby, I will say. That beef is just so tender, it's ridiculous. And the flavors are just so complimentary. The cold smoke, you're definitely picking up like a little bit on the back end. All the flavors are just so combined in a perfect way, like a symphony and harmony of flavors. My only advice for anyone at home trying to make their first Wellington, you should secure yourself a little bit of a thicker chateaubriand. Try to find the meatiest, thickest one you can. But this beef Wellington is so good, I just cannot stop, but I have to because we're about to have our holiday dinner date. And I don't know what else to tell y'all except for stop horsing around and make this already. So stop holding your horses. Not gonna drop this one, I'm gonna gently place it down. Boom. Thank y'all for tuning in to Harry the Horse Barbecue. I really appreciate you checking out this video. Happy holidays to each and every one of y'all. I seriously appreciate you checking out this video, and I really appreciate every single person who's hit that subscribe button. And here's to more content in 2026. So make sure you subscribe for the vibes, hit that like for a smoked Wellington, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I'm posting new content, and you can follow me on Instagram at Harry the Horse Barbecue. Tag me so I can see what y'all are cooking because y'all inspire these cooks. And with that being said, there's only one more thing, y'all. This whole half of a Wellington is going straight to the horse's mouth. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. I'm taking this Wellington to go.